Hey lifers, Dustin here, and today is Valentine's Day. So I figured in the spirit of love, I would make this video on Top 10 Tuesdays, the top 10 things I love the most about college football. I tried to make this really broad because if I were to actually get into specific things that I totally love, I could easily make this a top 100 list. As I'm going through this, if there's anything that pops out that reminds you of what you love the most about college football, please let me know that down in the comments section. Now let's get started. Number 10, conferences. I love the idea of conferences, especially in the older sense, the way things used to be back before conference realignment and money grabs took over the sport of college football. I love this idea of all of these geographical rivals that absolutely can't stand each other, that despise each other and want each other to lose all the time, unless they're playing an outsider from another conference. I also have to admit to being in love with conference stereotypes, such as the Big 12 is home to offensive innovators, but they have a complete and total lack of a defense. The idea of hashtag Pac-12 after dark, as well as speed and uniform combinations. The idea of the Big 10 being the old man's football with the 3 yards and a cloud of dust, traditional teams against traditional rivals on traditional days with traditional uniforms. The SEC trying to prove that it's them against the world, that everybody in the South is awesome and everybody outside the South sucks. And that the ACC is just a good old Southern boys conference. It's an old basketball conference. And it wants to prove to everybody that it's better than the SEC. Or at least just as good as the SEC. Yes, not all of those are true for every single team in every single conference, but overall that tends to be what I think most people associate with each conference, and you just don't have those kind of characterizations, I didn't say that word right, in the NFL. Tell me, when you think of the NFC South, what do you think? You think of the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bucks, and the Saints. That's it. Number 9, tailgating. Some of my favorite memories growing up was going to tailgating before Clemson home games with my dad, and then later on my brother and my cousin. Some of those memories have lasted longer than the actual games that I went to themselves. I remember throwing footballs while we ate. I don't always remember the opponent. Tailgating is the perfect way to be around the people that you love, the people that you may not have seen for a little while that you want to get reacquainted with, and get riled up for the game that day. I've been to dozens of stadiums at this point, and I'm always very curious to see what their tailgating situation is. Yes, other sports tailgate, but not like college football. There's nothing in baseball that can even remotely allow you to have the celebration that you have at the Grove at Ole Miss. Nothing in basketball that could equal sailgating at Tennessee or Washington. Nothing that would bring out the gumbo in the Bayou or the cockaboose in Columbia. College football tailgating helps to highlight what makes each fan base, school, and area so unique compared to others. Number 8, stadiums. It amazes me that we have 130 stadiums in the FBS level, and none of them are exactly like another one, save for maybe some of the domes. The way the bowl is shaped, whether it's in a perfect circle or a U, how many upper decks and where they put the upper decks, all can change how noise is trapped or released within a stadium. The first time I saw Florida State's Doak Campbell Stadium, I thought it was a castle. Tennessee Stadium reminded me of a modern-day Roman Coliseum. And personally, to me, the Swamp was pretty run-of-the-mill stadium on the outside, but once I got inside, it was absolutely unbelievable. These stadiums are painted with history, with banners and flags and signs and decals showcasing the conference and national champions, retired jersey numbers, and former players. I absolutely love how unique all of these buildings are. Number 7, uniforms. If there are 130 different college football teams at the FBS level, then there are thousands of uniform combinations. Uniform combinations. College football does something very unique that a lot of teams in the NFL don't do. They combine tradition with progression. Here's what I mean by that. A lot of teams in college football have not changed their uniform in like 100 years. I'm pretty sure that if Alabama ran out of the tunnel with crimson pants on, Tuscaloosa would burn to the ground. The idea of putting names on the backs of jerseys have been huge controversies in Notre Dame and Penn State. Other traditional helmets include, among many others, Ohio State's silver helmet with stickers, USC, Clemson, Michigan, and Auburn. But over the last few years, there have been a number of very sweet college football alternative uniforms. Obviously, Oregon is pretty well known for this, and Baylor has adopted it pretty successfully as well. There's been a lot of cool blackout jerseys over the years. LSU's gold throwbacks are sweet. So is Ohio State's black helmets and Pitt's old school blue and yellow unis. I love uniforms. I love when they unveil new uniforms before a big rivalry game. I enjoy that. I enjoy tradition, and I also enjoy experimentation and kind of doing the combat uniforms or the blackouts, or remember when Oregon wore pink a few years ago? I like that. Number 6, marching bands. When I was a little kid, I was absolutely obsessed with those NFL Follies videotapes. I used to watch them all the time, and I was always kind of confused because, especially I remember the Saints the most. Especially at Saints games, they would have marching bands. And I was like, NFL doesn't have marching bands. It was weird. I mean, yes, we don't really think about the marching band too much when we're tailgating before the game, but can you imagine a college football game without a marching band? Personally, I think it's one of the reasons why college football games are so much more exciting, at least to me in person, than NFL games. Have you ever been to an NFL game in person? Have you ever sat through a TV timeout of an NFL game? They are so boring. The TV timeouts can frankly be pretty brutal. Plus, with a marching band, you always have a built-in halftime show, and if you're used to the halftime show of your school, a lot of times, especially with close rivals, they'll bring their full band and perform on each other's field. It's a cool way to see what the other school, what the other region, what another conference is all about. Plus, honestly, band uniforms can be pretty sweet. If your band doesn't have a plume on top of their caps, they're doing it wrong. And without marching bands, we couldn't have my number 5 reason, which is number 5, fight songs. For the 2017 college football season, there will be 130 FBS teams, 129 plus 1 transitional, with that being coastal. But that means that not only are there 130 schools, but 130 fight songs. Usually written by alumni now long dead, these anthems of a university have sustained thousands of games over, depending on your school, up to 100 years of football. These songs directly connect you to some of your fellow students and fans from 75 or 100 years ago. It's been played every single time you defeated your rival, at every single one of your bowl games, and at all those pep rallies on homecoming. Hell, for many it gets stuck in our head and may even be our ringtone. It's the only thing you want to hear in the world after you beat your rival. And for many of these fight songs, you end up spelling your school or your state or your mascot, and that's a perfect way to just rub it right in your opponent's face after you beat them. Number 4, mascots. This applies to living mascots as well as the walking, waving kind. Each school has their own mascot, even if they have a similar team name. That's why we can have these Tigers, and these Tigers, and these Tigers, and this one, and this one. All different. Think about the diversity of the mascots. You have Blue Devils and Demon Deacons, Mountaineers and Hilltoppers, Badgers, Beavers, and Ducks, oh my. Commodores, Cavaliers, and Volunteers, the Crimson Tide and the Green Wave, the Hurricanes and the Golden Hurricane, singular. Orange, Cardinal, Mean Green, and the Scarlet Knights. Then you also have the live mascots like Mike the Tiger, Ralphie, Smokey, War Eagle, and Ugga. Also, Tennessee, West Virginia, Notre Dame, and Florida State have students that typically dress up like the mascot name. Mad respect. Now it's time to get into the actual game. Number 3, upsets. I think one of the reasons why Super Bowl 42, where the Giants beat the then undefeated Patriots, was such a big deal is you don't really have upsets like that in the NFL. In fact, you don't really have upsets like that in many other sports except maybe college basketball. But if you want upsets, you should be a college football fan. I can tell you where I was on individual upsets. I ended at 8 prematurely my freshman year of college just to watch the end of the 2007 Backyard Brawl. Upsets help memorialize the Statue of Liberty and the Hook and Ladder. It has helped make walk-on kickers legends at their own school. It has single-handedly ruined entire college football seasons and turned an entire fan base against a certain player or a certain school. Ask an Alabama fan about Johnny Manziel or Steven Garcia. I guarantee you that if you walk around today In Columbus, Ohio, you can find a black and yellow 34-32 shirt. Entire seasons have been soured because of upsets. These upsets have literally rewritten the course of history, especially if it's your rival. There is nothing worse than being upset by your rival. But if you are lucky enough to be the underdog in one of these historic, amazing upsets, I can tell you from personal experience, the feeling never leaves you. Number 2, traditions and rituals. The backbone of our love of college football are all of the traditions and rituals that we have. The repetition of tiny moments that never get dull. I'm not going to try to rank any traditions here, but I literally cannot imagine Clemson coming into the field of Memorial Stadium without touching Howard's Rock, or Virginia Tech coming in without Enter Sandman. Florida fans, what if you didn't sing "We Are the Boys from Old Florida" before the fourth quarter? Alabama, what if you didn't have Rammer Jammer? Buckeyes, what if you didn't cross out all the M's during campus-wide hate week or didn't dot the I? What if Miss State didn't have their cowbells? I know a lot of SEC West fans would be very happy. What if Miami didn't run through the smoke? The Stanford band getting suspended, Iowa's pink visitors locker room, all the musts at Utah. Not every tradition has to be this big, huge thing. Not everything has to be a bonfire or a chant or an entrance. Sometimes it's as small as making sure you get the exact same season ticket seats every single year, or wearing the shirt of your favorite team every single Saturday because you're 5-0 and you don't want to risk it. Or seeing the same group of people every year on homecoming weekend because after you graduated, you moved around the country and you can't stay in contact as easily, but you're all on campus that one weekend. Personally, I think it's all the little ways that this sport and your team gets into you. And my number 1 favorite thing about college football, rivalries. The Iron Bowl. Civil War. Clean, old-fashioned hate. Red River Shootout. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. The Battle of Brothers. Backyard Brawl. The Egg Bowl. Holy War. This is one of the rare videos where the number 1 thing on my list is probably the thing I'm going to talk about the least, because if you're watching this video, you already know. Beating your rival is the single greatest thing your school can accomplish all year long. It's better than your bowl game win. It just is. And losing to your rival is heartbreaking, and it doesn't go away until you beat them. Especially when Joe from work, who loves your favorite team, even though he didn't go to school there, gets to brag to you for the next 365 days at work. Joe's the worst. Rivalries are my favorite thing because it's what keeps everything else moving. Success, comparison, pride. It's what we live for. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good Valentine's Day, depending on when you watch this. If you're watching it later, I hope you're just having a regular good day. Thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comment section some of your favorite things about college football. Try to keep it short. I know if you're anything like me, you could literally write an entire book about it. Something that I may end up doing at some point. Who knows? But yeah, I really want to hear what your favorite things about college football are. And they can be specific to your school. But I would like it to be more broad about college football. What points in this video did you really like that I touched on? And what did I miss? Let me know down in the comments section. Thank y'all so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Every single one of those likes count and help out. You can also click the circle right down there of the trophy in order to subscribe and catch more college football videos coming your way soon. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch other videos over there. And as always, until next time. Love the idea of conferences, especially in the older sense, the way things used to be back before conference realignment and money grabs took over the sport of college football. I love this idea of all of these geographical rivals that absolutely can't stand each other, that despise each other and want each other to lose all the time, unless they're playing an outsider from another conference. I also have to admit to being in love with conference stereotypes, such as the Big 12 is home to offensive innovators, but they have a complete and total lack of 4 Clemson home games with my dad, and then later on my brother and my cousin. Some of those memories have lasted longer than the actual games that I went to themselves. I remember throwing footballs while we ate. I don't always remember the opponent. Tailgating is the perfect way to be around the people that you love, the people that you may not have seen for a little while that you want to get reacquainted with, and get riled up for the game that day. I've been to dozens of stadiums at this point, and I'm always very curious to see what their tailgating situation is. Yes, other sports tailgate, but not like college. Hey lifers, Dustin here, and today is Valentine's Day. So I figured in the spirit of love, I would make this video on Top 10 Tuesdays, the top 10 things I love the most about college football. I tried to make this really broad because if I were to actually get into specific things that I totally love, I could easily make this a top 100 list. As I'm going through this, if there's anything that pops out that reminds you of what you love the most about college football, please let me know that down in the comment section. Now let's get started. Number 10, conferences. IEC. Or at least just as good as the SEC. Yes, not all of those are true for every single team in every single conference, but overall that tends to be what I think most people associate with each conference, and you just don't have those kind of characterizations, I didn't say that word right, in the NFL. Tell me, when you think of the NFC South, what do you think? You think of the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bucs, and the Saints. That's it. Number 9, tailgating. Some of my favorite memories growing up was going to tailgating with a defense. The idea of hashtag Pac-12 after dark, as well as speed and uniform combinations. The idea of the Big Ten being the old man's football with the 3 yards and a cloud of dust, traditional teams against traditional rivals on traditional days with traditional uniforms. The SEC trying to prove that it's them against the world, that everybody in the South is awesome and everybody outside the South sucks. And that the ACC is just a good old Southern boys conference. It's an old basketball conference. And it wants to prove to everybody that it's better than the SEC.